Hey, if I have to pass gas, I'm sorry, because it's been bad.
No, I will get up. Clear the
That'll
table.
be the best podcast ever. Everybody clears the table.
Dude, I made them all open windows up in the house the other day.
Hey, y'all smell that burnt popcorn?
Yeah. You ready? Ready?
Rolling.
Okay. Let me do this right here. Here we go. What's up, fellas? Back again, Scott Martin podcast right here, Lake Seminole. Got the boys all assembled. And we also have a special guest today, Buddy Gross.
How's it going?
Buddy just won the last tournament at Lake Kissimmee. Blew everybody away. Smashed them up good there. And we've got Brian Latimer join us. He skipped out on the last one. Got Andrew Upshaw joining us again. Obviously Tom Reddington, and Billy's got a bass. How many of y'all saw Billy's first tournament that just dropped on the channel? That was awesome. Billy, you did good. You did real good.
Thank you.
And if you know, we're thinking about filming the one at Chickamauga for him too.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a second tournament ever. So maybe you can give him a tip or two.
Well, he'll be
just
in the
needs a
video
little bit.
I'm just going to follow him.
Exactly.
It'd be a good time to catch a giant.
There will be some big ones out there, but you know what? Big ones are here, Lake Seminole. That's where we're our third tour stop of the season right here. And time's going by quick. We've had a roller coaster week with weather, but it's going to be a good tournament. And speaking of good things going on, Marshall program. You know, it's been good so far this year. They've had a lot of marshals show up, and it's a good thing. What was it, $100?
Yeah.
$100 to sign up for Marshall. You get to spend 2 days in the boat with the pros, and the best part is you get to take pictures. You get to be part of the social media initiative that we've got going on. You do little video clips, and you get to learn what to do and what not to do. So it's better than going to any type of lesson for fishing, and it's super cheap.
And it's the best guide trip you'll ever go on.
Absolutely. You're not going to fish, but you get to watch, and you get a chance to win money. What do they win for the tournament? They win like $2,500 for first place.
Yeah, and you're entered to win a Ranger bass boat.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. I had a lot of people come up to me at Kissimmee saying that they came out and fished as a marshal or came out to participate as a marshal because they watched the podcast and what we were talking about. So guys, I encourage you, check the schedule, get on FLWOutdoors.com, check the schedule, figure out where the next tournament is. It's actually at Grand Lake,
yeah.
close to Tulsa.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you know anybody around Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana area, come on out. Kansas.
Kansas is right there.
Yeah.
Missouri.
Yeah,
Missouri.
Grand Lake.
Yeah.
Texas.
It's going to be good.
Right there.
Yeah. Texas is close, isn't it?
It is.
It is the cheapest guide trip you'll ever take. And you don't even have to make a cast.
No, it is. We also, for this tournament at the Expo, if you guys are watching this, come by Bainbridge, Georgia. We're going to have the SMC booth. Billy's going to be setting it up, but we're going to be hanging out every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What do we got at the booth?
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. every day of the weigh-in. But we got our new merch in. We got long sleeve, we got short sleeve, and we got hoodies. And tons of hats.
It's the first time I've seen the shirt. I didn't even, just
I
saw
know.
it. Check that out, guys.
Pulled it out this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, looks
Do
good.
we have any for online yet?
Yes.
Do we? Okay, so we're going to drop a link eventually in this video. I'm not sure if the link is even active yet, but we're going to have TeamSMC shirts. If you guys want to be part of that, check it out. And also we'll have hats as well. So that being said, Lake Seminole.
Yeah.
Last time we were here, dude, you kind of took home, well, the coastal tournament back in 2017.
Yeah, it was a good week.
You smashed them up a little
I
bit.
did. It was an awesome tournament. They set up well. Only problem is they're not setting up so good for me this time.
Was it the same time of year?
Same time, same week, actually. So
Really?
But it's a lot different. The hurricanes changed the outlook of the lake. I mean, the whole landscape's different. The hydrilla was really green and healthy in 17. This year, it's kind of dead and dying. And what little bit is left, it's just it's getting a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people around. All the people's pushed into certain areas, and that's the area I like to fish. And now I'm having to figure out what to do. So it's going to be an interesting tournament for me.
What do they call that? The cat's out of the bag now, right?
The cat is out of the bag.
You know, that's. I think that's probably the biggest thing, the biggest disadvantage to all the coverage we get in tournaments now, is that whenever you spin out in a tournament, like that spot and area is exposed forever. Yep. Like everybody knows where it is. I mean, it's the information out there is just everywhere, and so you know, it makes it a little tougher.
Yeah, and FLW doing a good job covering it. I mean, the drone footage that we had, back at Kissimmee when we just left, I mean, it kind of educated me a little bit. I mean, I was fishing it every day, and I still was interested to see the drone footage. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, how did you catch them at Kissimmee? Tell us a little bit about that, because I think the people that maybe didn't get to watch the coverage, Would love to know that.
You know, I was fishing a hard line on the grass line, and I got bit on the backside edges. I've made the same speech several times, but really and truly the fish were on the backside better than they were the front side. And you know, every day of the tournament, the wind blew out of I think it was out of the east. But anyway, it was hitting the outside edge, so I kind of struck out for the first few hours. Pulled on the outside and automatically started catching them. So I just kind of exploited that one little area and just found a real sweet spot, and it came to be the spot for the entire tournament. It was awesome.
So basically, you just stay right on that one spot. Pretty much caught all 20.
I did.
Of your fish right there.
I did, but I'd catch one or two, and I'd have to leave, let it rest, and try to. At the same time, for the first 2 days, when all of us are in the field, you'd have to protect it, but leave it. So I mean, some days I just back off, pull down, and eat my lunch. You know, I mean, just to let it rest, and then the very first cast, you catch another or get a bite. I mean, it was it's just one of those places you dream of finding it.
Yeah.
You know, and I found one here, you know, a couple years ago, but. That's the only problem with fishing like that. You either feast or famine. It's not always a great thing.
You make it look really good. You're like, oh, I caught 25 pounds, like no big deal, but.
Now, you were throwing the Scottsboro tackle swim bait from what I saw, a little underspin on the bottom of it.
It was the bait of the tournament, but I can tell you that everything I caught in practice was on a swim jig with, you know, it had a zoom crawl on it.
Yeah.
A Z crawl. That Z crawl has been my trailer for years. It's just a good brim imitator, and it done the job. So, but the Scottsboro tackle, I just got to where I don't throw the swim bait as much in practice because I don't want them to get used to it. So that's just one of those deals. And it was a 1, 2, 3 punch. It was a swim jig with a zoom and a swim jig with a Scottsboro tackles.
That is a good point. You said that to me the other day. We were talking on the phone. He goes, "Man, I'm not making any casts around here with a swim bait." He goes, "I'll wait till tournament day for that." And now it makes sense because you know in this clear water especially, you know, you show them a bait a bunch. And they get used to it, you know what I mean?
I'll tell you where it really burnt me was at Cumberland. You talk about a tournament one day. I had an awesome practice. I was like, I'm going to smash them. And I go in a tournament, I can't get a bite, so it was really hard for me.
Wow.
Buddy Gross has won Kissimmee in the grass, Pickwick in the grass,
that's what I was about to
Seminole in the grass. He's a bigger fan of grass than the entire Grateful Dead concert crowd, I tell you.
Yes.
I'm just hoping I got grass at Grand. Anybody help me out with that?
Yeah, don't think you're gonna be in luck there, buddy.
We can bring some. We need to bring some to Okeechobee and take some to Grand.
That's interesting because usually when you're talking about grass, usually the flippers do better. But buddy, you always cast and wind is what I think.
Yeah.
Right? You commit to that, right?
I do. I love to flip. It just everywhere we've been this year is just not the prime deal for what I like to do. But I mean, if it's got grass involved, man, it don't matter how I catch them really. I mean, it's on frog fishing or flipping or you know, just what I grew up doing. So it kind of brings me back home, you know.
You fish a lot of grass.
Hey, yeah, I grew up fishing a lot of grass. Just I don't hammer them as much as Buddy does. It's harder for me to commit to things. You know, I'm more of that junk guy that has like 30 rods on his deck.
Yeah.
And Buddy has like 3.
Yeah.
And he's just there, and I'm just not very good at that. Not
If I've got more than 3 rods on my boat, that means I'm really lost. I mean, that's about the way it is.
If I have 3 rods on my deck, I'm lost.
I have 12 rods on the deck of my boat, and I'm always lost.
I'm always lost.
I don't think so, but
Yeah. Whew. What do you think, Billy? What do you think?
I'm just taking. I don't know. That pretty much sums up most people's practice.
That's my practice.
I don't know.
Yeah, 3 days of practice goes by quick, and you take these lakes like this, and you look at it on the map. You say, "This is not a big lake. I think I can cover a lot of things." But then when you get out there on those flats, and it's just little sandbars and little creek channels and high spots and low spots and all the different options and things that are to cover. Next thing you know, 3 days goes by, and you go, "I didn't even fish that whole side of the lake. I didn't go over here. I didn't do that." So, this was one of the tournaments that, for me personally, that I wish I could have planned out, really planned out each day a little better, because I just kind of took it for granted that I could cover everything, and I'll run over there in a little bit, and I'll do this in a little while, and next thing you know, it's 5:30 and you got to go in.
Here's the scary part here too. So if we're at Potomac River, Rayburn, something, you fish around, you get a couple bites in area, you say, "Man, I only had a few bites, but I'm all right." And everybody says it sucks. They come there tournament day, but then when you slow down an area and you really fish it, then there turns out to be a lot of fish there. And guys said, "I only had 3 bites, but now I fished it hard. I got a bunch." The problem is that one spot that I found in the grass, Buddy found it, you found it, Andrew found it, Brian found it, Billy
even found it. He didn't even go fishing today.
So that's going to be the problem, that when you sit down in an area, you and 25 of your friends are going to sit down in that area, and there's I'm afraid there's not going to be enough to go around. So it's not one of those that once you sit down in the area, you do better. I think it's going to be, wow, this is my best spot, and there's 5 other guys casting right here.
And the problem with that is they've seen every bait this week. They've seen all the pressure. And I mean, this was going to set up to be a great tournament.
Right.
But the cat's out of the bag, just like we said.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing the same thing, and it's gonna show.
So does it come down to boat number? I mean, is that, you know what I'm saying? The early boats gets the spots?
No.
I think more than anything, I think the pressure's going to get it.
Yeah.
I just think that we're all trying to do the same thing, and you got to run a bunch of stuff this year. It's not like
It's hard to run a bunch of stuff because, like what Tom's saying, is like I have 10 places that I want to fish. Everybody fished all 10 of those places, so there's probably going to be a boat on 8 of them. So when I idle through the stumps and go over there, there's a boat spot locked down. I don't know when he's leaving. I can't ask him, hey bud, when are you going to leave? Can I fish it after you? That's kind of dumb. So then you go to the other spot and there's a boat there. Then you try to fish in between, waiting for somebody to leave, and next thing you know, hours goes by, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all out of whack. So it's hard to fish your game plan on this lake when the cat's out of the bag, and everybody's kind of doing like how Buddy won the tournament, how some of the guys are winning over the last couple of years, you know. So finding something a little off the wall, fish real deep, section of the lake nobody's at, that's really, I think the tournament's going to be one where it's not, you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I really do.
I think it's going to be the guy who was completely away from everybody else, because there's a lot of this lake not getting pressure, but it's going to be a interesting tournament. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it is. It is. So, well, guys, we're going to take a short break, real quick one. Come right back. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll be right back. All right, let me set my timer one more time, get my notes out so I can read them properly. I'm not playing video games, Brandon. Welcome back, guys. Brandon's giving me grief over. He's like, you got to put the phone down. You got to put the phone down. They're going to all think you're like doing something else.
He was on a run on Candy Crush.
Yeah, I was, dude. It was Tetris too. But anyways, we're back again.
I just
That's
thought
old
you weren't
school.
interested in what we had to say. Right?
Yeah, that's
Bored,
right.
super
That's
bored.
Right. That's right. So, Brandon was a little upset with me, but we're okay now. We're okay now. See, he's really mad now because he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, you know why he's
Look
really
at
mad
his
now?
face.
Because he knows he has to put this in the video because there's no way to edit this out. Because the other stuff that we like say and he never puts in the video, he just conveniently edits around that. So, anyways, not to turn segment 2 and to pick on Brandon, but we love you, buddy. Appreciate you. But I am looking at my notes. So, we are.
That's pretty good.
We talked a little bit about Buddy's tournament at Kissimmee. We talked about how he won the coastal tournament. Let's talk about current conditions here on Seminole. You know, because we're dealing with, I would call it like a roller coaster of weather conditions here. I mean, this has been a crazy week from flip-flops the first day of practice to snowmobile suit on the last day. I mean, ridiculous. Everything in between. What do you think?
It's been rough, I tell you. I heard a local guy say I think the sunshine one time since January. So it's all these guys are. I mean, we're ready for weather break, and I think we're gonna get it at the end of the tournament. But I think the first 2 days is gonna be one kind of tournament, and I think the last 2 days for the guys that make the cut, it's gonna be a whole nother tournament.
Now, is the water up right now in Seminole, or is it normal?
I think it's fairly normal, but I'm not.
Seems normal to you?
It seems a little bit higher than I've seen it before.
Yeah, because you fished a bunch of tournaments here.
Yeah, I fished a bunch. I fished the coasters for years. I've been here several times.
Yeah.
And BFL regionals too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've never fished a tournament here, and that's kind of crazy. A lot of people are watching like, what? I thought you would. Yeah, everybody says the same thing, but I didn't fish the full Costa Series tour. I always just did the FLW Tour, and this is our first FLW Tour event here at Seminole. So never really had that opportunity, but water's up a little bit. Water is staying, wouldn't you agree? I mean, in places, obviously not spring, but
heavy stain in some places.
yeah.
And the crazy part is that I came here in pre-practice. I stopped off going to Kissimmee, and I was here in the fall, rode it, coming back, and it was, that entire lake was brown. I mean, brown, coffee with cream. So it's cleared up considerably from what it was. It was,
Yeah.
the flats, the grass, everything was chocolate.
I think the thing that's making it a little difficult is the wind's been blowing, so it's shifting a lot of that muddy water around in some of the areas that were good, maybe on Sunday. The wind is muddying up, and they're kind of not as good, or at least in my opinion. So the wind is keeping stuff tricky.
Yeah. Grass population's pretty good around the Spring Creek area. So, guys, for you guys that haven't been to Seminole, Spring Creek is basically, is it spring fed? Is it spring fed? It must be.
It is. There's a bunch of big springs on the head of it, and I
Yeah.
think there's springs all throughout the lake.
It must be, because it is gin clear, hydrilla everywhere, stumps. When you get out of Spring Creek area and you get in the Chattahoochee, then the water gets stained, or you go up the Flint River and the water has a stain up there as well.
It does.
Now, what about the water temperature? Water temperature in the main river has been, what do you read in the last couple days?
64, 65.
Yeah,
And then I've seen some 68, 69 in spring.
yeah.
Florida side's about the same. Florida side seems to be colder than the rest of the lake, I think.
Yeah. Is you think the water? Because here was what was weird for me, and we fish tournaments all the time where these big cold fronts hit, and you see the water temperature just plummet quickly. And on day 2 of practice, late in the day, I'm thinking, well, the water temperature's got to be getting pretty cold. And I stick my hand in. Well, first I look at my graph, and it said 67 still, and I'm like, what? I stick my hand. I was like, warm bath water.
That's right.
Is that because there's springs in there that you think are just percolating through that sand? Probably keep that temperature in Spring Creek a little more consistent, or is it the grass?
I think it's the grass because the water's. I mean, the bottom's dark. I mean, it's as black as this table, so
Yeah.
that's just sucking up all the heat, and I think that's what's generating the heat out of it. I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still have some deep water too, so it takes longer to cool the water down. Probably.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
It's
Yeah.
a fairly deep lake.
Yeah.
It has a lot of shallow water, a lot of flats, but there's plenty of 20, 30-foot water here.
So patterns this week, we're dealing with a roller coaster weather conditions. What do you think the patterns for the tournament are going to be? What do you think, Tom?
Well, it's we probably thought. I mean, there's new moon today. Thought it was going to be a big spawn deal, and it seemed like a lot of empty beds. I see a lot of fry up shallow, so might be some shad spawn, some post spawn, probably some still few pre-spawners. But in terms of a major league full-blown sight fishing tournament, which I thought it could be that, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's coming and going fish. The guys staging, and with the cold front, that might take off, as Buddy said, take out some of the shallow flat stuff. Guys, all of a sudden you're fishing deeper, you're fishing the drains. Come the weekend, like Buddy said, we get a big warm-up, maybe with the moon, maybe it's a shallow game then, but I'm thinking it's probably a little more coming and going than we thought originally.
Yeah, what do you think, buddy?
That's what I think. I think everything that I have done has been looking for the coming and going, and I haven't had a good practice. But that don't mean we won't have a good tournament. I mean, they could show up, or we can miss horribly. I mean, and I think a lot of people's going to be in that deal. There's not going to be a whole lot of riding the bench on this one. You're either going to be in or you're going to be out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be making the right decisions at the right time throughout this tournament, in my opinion.
Yeah, this tournament for me, I'm getting like that queasy feeling in your stomach where you kind of you don't really know what to expect because of the weather, because of the pressure on the lake, and everything being exposed. But I think the patterns this week are going to be, lipless crankbaits, of course, that always plays. Chatterbaits, this is a chatterbait lake through and through. Flipping some of that grass, getting out there, flipping some of the hyacinth mats and some of the hydrilla.
Yep.
And then even some guys catching them out deep. We keep hearing a little chitter chatter, guys catching them out in that 20-foot range, which would be kind of, I think you'd have it yourself,
Maybe. I don't know. It seemed awful crowded at that deal, too, yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday there was a bunch of guys
Yeah, I think somebody's let the cat out of the bag a little bit, and everybody's looking, but I don't think it's happening everywhere because I have tried to exploit that a little bit myself. But
Yeah.
I think if you find that wad, though,
Yeah.
we're going to know who it is
Yeah.
Yeah.
come tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I would say there's going to be, for weight-wise, what do you think? Well, first of all, Brian, what do you think on patterns?
I think there's going to be a lot going on. This lake, it fishes small, but there's so many things to do, from fishing all the way to the flats to a finesse guy really does well on this lake. The casting and winding guy, it's got a little bit of something for everybody. So I think you're going to see in the top 10, you're going to see maybe by the end of the week a guy up shallow on flats, maybe sight fishing. By sight fishing, I don't mean bed fishing.
Right.
Which is, I think something's going to play. I think you're going to see the guy that's casting, winding, chatterbaits, traps. That stuff's definitely going to play. And it's probably going to be somebody that figures out the deep deal.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be, because I don't think the biggest population of the fish is spawn yet. I think we're way in front of the spawn.
Yeah, that's what we keep talking about.
Yeah.
That's what Andrew we keep going back and
Yeah.
forth. What do you think?
If you
Andrew?
think about what Buddy said that somebody said they hadn't had one day in
Right.
sunlight.
Yeah.
Sunlight pulls those fish up, and if they haven't had that sunlight, I don't think the
Yeah.
bulk of them have come up.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a cast and winding deal. I think that's everybody's mindset, but I think this tournament's going to surprise a lot of people. I think that, it kind of relates me back to a couple of tournaments I fished in the past. What they're talking about, there hadn't been a whole lot of sunlight. We're now on our second day of sunlight.
That's good.
And tomorrow we're going to have another day of sunlight. I think you're going to see a lot of fish moving, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot of fish move up. And I think we got to erase the thought that we had a cold front roll in, because now it's starting to warm up. The sun's
And the
there.
water temperature didn't drop.
No,
it
the
didn't
water
drop.
temperature
I mean,
didn't
if it
drop.
was 52 degrees, I would say it would cancel a lot of stuff. But it's going to be tomorrow morning. That water temperature is still going to be close to 60 degrees.
It's all
in
about
places.
I
sunlight.
don't think it'll be less than 60.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's going to be cold. I mean, this morning was cold.
It's
Yeah.
cold.
It was cold.
In the morning it's going to be
It
cold.
was cold
so
this morning.
I just hope we don't have the fog. That's all I'm worried
Yeah.
about. Didn't have any this morning. I was kind of paying
The wind's
attention.
blowing.
Yeah, but if it's foggy, we may have to
Yeah.
shorten the day. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, real quick, let's give a tip. Everybody loves a tip. We'll do a real quick one. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes for the next break. Billy, springtime fishing tip.
Springtime fishing?
Yeah, in a cold front. What's your go-to?
Next.
I don't. Man, I was going to tell about the crappie trip. The crappie fishing.
We don't
I was
even.
going to
Yeah,
give a tip on the crappie fishing.
that's terrible tip because you're not educated on that. You caught
no.
one.
I know how to do it though. The guy told me last night.
What were you doing wrong, Billy?
Everything.
Well, the problem wrong was, our rods were too short, so we couldn't do the long leader. But you get a leader about 6 foot and a split shot down here at the hook and a bobber, and that's it.
The rods were so short that Brandon was having a frustrating moment, actually, with the rods. Matter of fact, take a look at this real quick. Is that crazy or what, dude? I mean, you can't be just throwing rods around the boat like that. Just,
Snoopy
it was
rods
a
are
$12
tough.
rod, dude.
Anger management.
$12 rod.
The Snoopy rods are tough, man.
Anger
They take
management.
a
That's
beat.
for Brandon.
Yeah.
Intervention
He was hung up on the dock. Springtime fishing tip.
Hey, to me, the biggest thing about springtime tips, when I guided on fork, I did that over 10 years. The prefrontal days, that's when you catch a lot of them. They're spread out, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, traps, catch a bunch. When the cold front comes, the bite gets tough. They're not everywhere, but the first point, the first drop, once you find them, you catch nothing until you find them, and then they're watered up. And literally, almost all of my biggest springtime fish, customers' biggest fish ever, were in those wads. So I'd say the biggest thing is the mindset. Hey, you're out there. Once you find them, there's going to be a whole bunch there. They're not spread out. So keep your head up, keep fishing. Once you find them, you're going to
Springtime tip.
Mine's going to be quick and easy. Tight wiggling baits.
Tight wiggling baits.
Yeah.
Like that one. I don't know. That might have been a wide wobbler.
That was a Daryl Davis little shakedown, little booty shake right there in the background. Springtime tip, cold front, chatterbait. Chatterbait. You can fish it at all depths. Just change your size of your chatterbait. That's a great bait to throw.
All right. Whenever they're actually up on beds, something I learned on Rayburn, and springtime, cold front, we actually throw a bait called a chicken poop rig. I won't say the word that we called it, but it's a swivel with a caffeine shad or
Yeah.
a fluke on the back
Yeah.
of it, and you just dead stick it out through those spawning areas, and that's how you catch them. And that is like the thing that everybody turns to when we back home. Now, because they already passed that trap chatterbait stage,
Yeah.
they're up there spawning, and that cold front hits, you go to the chicken poop rig, and you're gonna catch the fire out of them. I mean, he knows about it.
Oh, yeah, that's
That-
what's up.
I didn't know about it. I've
Yeah.
been rooming with these guys for quite a while.
That is the
We're not
thing.
getting the yes.
Peter T's made
Yes.
a career off.
Yeah, the PD rig. It's the PD rig.
Okay.
I just call it the chicken poop rig.
You've been rooming with me. You don't know about it. Maybe they're holding out.
I know.
Yeah, I was
All right, Brian. What do you think? What's your tip?
fishing shallower than normal. Springtime, it's okay to get up there in the dirt, so I like to fish really shallow, even when it's cold. The days are getting longer, they're already starting to think about the spawn, so that's the time where I really like to go as shallow as I can.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick little break. We'll be right back for the last little segment, and we're gonna talk about our very first bass tournament. We're gonna tell a story about our very first bass tournament. That's gonna be a good one. Stay tuned. Best part.
Let's start with Buddy.
That's a lot of fun right there.
Yeah, I want to hear what y'all are talking
Tell them
about.
about crappie fishing.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. We're trying to figure out. Everybody's trying to get their stories in order for their very first bass fishing tournament experience. So, I remember mine. I think everybody remembers their very first tournament. Some good experiences, probably some bad experiences, but nevertheless, it was their very first one. So, what do you think, Billy? You got a good story for your very
Mine's
first?
fresh on everybody's mind. 2 weeks ago, the Costa event at Okeechobee. You know, initially when I saw the schedule, I'm like, well, that's Scott's backyard, man. I'm gonna get all the good stuff. He's gonna help me. And then the winds come, 30-mile-an-hour winds, 20 plus
That's
every
when
day.
I told him I'm no help at this point,
It
Billy.
blows everything out, and then the stress, you know. I mean, it's almost like if I could fish under the name John Doe, but now, everybody, I got so many people like hitting me up, good luck, man, you can do it, praying for you.
Pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but it was good though. I mean, you know, I survived it. It was good. Caught fish, and just weren't, you know, as big as I would have
Tell them
liked.
about your very first official blast off that morning and how that went.
I beached
This
the
is
boat.
good.
I beached the boat. Well, see, listen. So the morning of day one, Scott and I are out
Got
there in his
stuck.
driveway, and he's like, we're entering waypoints of a trail for me to follow. And then you helped me on day two, right?
Yeah,
I
I
followed
did.
you.
I did.
But so I'm going, and I missed the turn, man. I was only off like 50 yards.
That's a
and all
lot.
of a sudden it goes, and mud's going everywhere, and I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So I just kept it down and just turned the boat, and the mud's going everywhere, and my partner's like holding on, and I'm like, so it took like 45 minutes to get out of there. The boat was like, and then
Oh
so
my
it's just
God.
like, wah, just blowing, and the engine would overheat, and I'd have to stop. And so we finally got to the fishing spot like 45 minutes later.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me. I'm like, this is great.
What about you, Tom?
Well, not my very first tournament, but my first FLW Tour tournament. You were there for this one. And, you know, nervous, and I get up early for practice now, but I'm up really early, right? It's a big cold front, and I catch all these males on a flat, and I find the dream spot. I go in this deep grass line there in
Where was
Gunnersville,
it? Where-
Lake Gunnersville.
Okay.
And pre-spawn, and I flip jig in there, I shake off a couple, I said, I better check him. I hooked a giant, kind of slide him off. I get a few more there. It warms up the whole time. I'm afraid they're
I
going to...
remember this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I remember this tournament.
I'm afraid they're going to move up. I go there first day of the tournament, and I'm starting off, and I'm flipping a jig. I go in there, boom, I get one, bites it, so braid line and everything, pulls my skirt down, trailer off. Have two, I miss him. My co-angler, who's no slouch, I mean, he won Costas and stuff, Jason Ober, boom, he sticks one, 8-13. 5 minutes into my tournament day. I'm like, okay, they're still here. I'm around big ones. Same thing, I missed a couple more. Bam! 5 minutes later, 8-5. He's got 17 pounds in 10 minutes, literally. Right, so we go, I change up my trailer, I get some fish.
You want to talk about Mad when he came in?
He catches 3 more 3-pounders. He has 25-8. He's in first place by like 5 pounds in the co-angler side. He'd be in second place. David Walker had 28. He'd be in second place. He weighs them both, 8-5, 8-13. I changed up from a craw trailer to that chunk. The next day I go back there, I catch 20-something pounds. Chad Pipkins, who is an elite angler now, he's throwing jig. He throws shaky head behind me. He catches one short the whole day. Just a craw trailer to that chunk. And I caught enough that I still got 30-something place.
I remember that
And
tournament.
you guys smashed him. You and Pack on the flats. But if I
Yeah.
catch one of those 8-pounders, I make top 10. If I catch both those, I'm leading after day 2.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome to the big leagues, kid.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
he's like,
crazy.
I was being a guide today. He was so confused about what was going on. It was unbelievable. So it was good. It was a good rebound there for sure. That was a crazy tournament. Pack and I were in that tournament, fishing out there on those big flat on the grass, and chunking chatterbaits,
Yeah.
and it was good. What about you, buddy?
You know, I'm gonna start out one with me and my dad. I mean, my dad, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money, and my dad tried to piece together an old Procraft. I mean, the old Procrafts, you probably remember them. Transfers
yeah.
fall out of them.
Yeah.
But we had one he's trying to patch together to take me to fish a little, I think it was a Hungry Fisherman tournament down on the Coastal River at Weast Lake, and I was young. I mean, like, younger than most kids. I mean, like, now kids start early, but back then, we didn't do that. And I was fortunate that my dad would take me instead of taking his buddies, and I remember we stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning to get the boat ready. Had to be there at 5, and it's an hour and a half drive. So I think I got an hour's sleep. So we blasted off for this tournament. Went to the first slow. Daddy said he turned around and looked at me. I was asleep on the back deck. But that tournament started it all for me. I mean,
Really?
it was just the excitement of going, the excitement of catching them, and the excitement once we got all lined up. But it was an awesome tournament. That's what got me hooked. Something y'all don't know. Drew Benton would know this story. If he watches this, he'll remember this. But we were here, first time I ever came here. I was in an old model Triton. My aerators had quit. You know, I had a pretty good bag. I was top 5 that day. First time I ever been here. Went to the boat ramp. Talked to the ranger guy while I was in the weigh-in line. He said, "I'll help you fix that if if I don't have nobody come up, I'll help you get your pump fixed." So I get in a hurry, lay my trolling motor down, load the boat up, and the trolling motor flies across the deck, about taking Drew's head off. So, man, it's been an experience.
So we hit the trailer when you're going up?
Yes.
You just busted it all off.
Left it down. It like parts flew. Drew was like ducking on my back. I mean, it was the craziest thing. And he said, it's really even funnier. The trolling motor got hung down in the trailer. So I jumped down to get it so I could back the boat off and left it in gear. It was a disaster.
Oh my gosh.
It
That
was
sounds
probably
like something I'd do.
It was
That
a
does sound
bad,
like a
bad
Billy
day,
story.
but it all worked out.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. The very first time I ever fished, I was 14. I was 14 at Okeechobee, and me and a buddy that was 14 as well. I had an old Procraft. I had an old Procraft, 16.9 with a 140 GT Johnson on the back of it.
I remember.
Had the little racing flags.
Yep.
And we go out there on the lake, and we're catching them pretty good out there. The lake was low that year, and we're out off Uncle Joe's, and there's some humps out there. The old channel that runs way out in the lake, and we're catching them on rattle traps and doing pretty good. And came back to the boat ramp that evening to pull out. There was a guy walking around the parking lot. And by the way, I drove my Suburban, or not my Suburban, my mom's Suburban down. They would let me drive from my house. It's only about a half mile to the boat ramp. The cops never would say anything. I could drive as long as I drove there and parked and then drove back. I was okay. And I saw a guy putting out flyers on windows, and I said, "What is this?" He said, "We got a tournament tomorrow at Roland Martin's Marina." The guy didn't know who I was. I had long hair. I used to ride skateboards. I mean, I was a crazy kid. And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Can we fish it?" And he's like, "Well, how old are y'all?" I said, "I'm 14. And he goes, "Well, what about you? You going to fish with an adult?" I said, "No, I'm going to fish with my friend over here." "How old's he?" 14. He goes, "Man, y'all too young. You can't fish." And I said, "Well, where are you going to do the tournament?" He said, "Roland Martin's Marina." I said, "Well, that's our marina." And he said, "Well, maybe we can work something out." So he said, "If y'all win, we got to give the money to your mom." And I said, "Well, I don't care. That's fine. No problem." So they let us fish. And me and Jimmy Carruthers, at 14 years old, loaded up my boat, stayed up all night long. I played in my tackle boxes. I remember sitting there taking crankbaits and rattle traps and putting them in each little compartment and making sure everything's perfect and going through all my tackle in my boat. Couldn't sleep one wink all night long. Had all my rods laid out perfect. We get up, we run out there, start fishing. Bam, 5-pounder right off the bat. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then we end up catching 14 or 15 pounds. Ended up third place in the tournament. Won like $250. And that was my very first one. They gave me a check to my mom, and my mom gave me the cash later on.
Awesome.
But that was my very first bass tournament, and that was neat. So then that kind of started it for me. You would think that a lot of people would think you fish with an adult, as a young kid, but I just never had fished a tournament until then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
My first one was actually a club tournament in our neighborhood, and I honestly I kind of started late. I didn't start fishing until I was like 14, 15. I'm big sports nuts. I played football, basketball, baseball, everything that you could play. And I remember my neighbor Harold. He taught me a lot about fishing, buzz baits and stuff like that. But I went and jumped in this club tournament. Didn't have a boat. I mean, I just jumped in the back of his boat, and I ended up getting second place in the tournament, throwing an old Bomber long A.
Really?
I mean, destroyed them that day, throwing a long A on Toledo Bend. And
Is that on a spinning rod?
no, I was a bait caster. I learned how to throw it like 3 weeks before then.
That's awesome.
And ended up getting second, and that just kind of catapulted me into where I'm at today.
That's
It's
cool.
crazy.
I still can't throw it.
No, me either.
Okay.
What about you, B-Lat?
So I fished my first tournament when I was in second grade, believe it or not. So my dad was a
Grade,
tournament
how old were
fisherman.
you? Like,
I think yeah, second grade,
7?
probably 7 or 8, something like that. My dad was a tournament fisherman, so I just grew up around the scene fishing locally, and it was actually a night tournament. He picked me up after school from my grandparents, and we went out. I caught the only fish that night, and ever since then, I used to beg him. My dad used to fish the Jerry Ryan, like you were talking about, the Herman fisherman, all that stuff. And I would beg him, "Dad, I want to fish that. I want to fish that." Back then, that was a big deal. $400 or $500 tournament, team tournament. He never would let me fish it, so I started fishing the night tournaments with him, Tuesday nighters, and I just got the bug. But one story that's really cool that I really like, with us being at Seminole right now, my first coastal tournament or tournament away from home. Now, fishing my home water was right here at Seminole in 2008, and that was also the year that I got married. So
Really?
I was planning a wedding and also starting to spend a lot of money fishing tournaments. So it was a stressful year that year, fishing out here in Seminole, not catching nothing, trying to figure out how I'm gonna plan a wedding, pay for a honeymoon, and oh yeah, I need about 10 grand this year to fish on tournaments. So yeah, it was the two tournaments that I will
neat.
never forget those coming down here.
It's always neat to hear people how they got into it. You know, with those little moments that happen in life. So we're getting ready for the meeting, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We got to walk in there, get this party started on the FLW Tour. Again, weigh-ins Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Bainbridge Boat Basin down there. We're going to have great things going on all week. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for joining me, buddy.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you. All right, man. We'll see you guys.